After taking off, birds. His plane hit a flock of birds. Both engines caught fire and stopped working. The captain didn't know the exact situation but felt the thrust drop sharply. Every move he made next would decide the fate of 155 passengers. He tried to reignite the engines but got no response. Then the cabin lost power. Without hesitation, he switched on the auxiliary power unit, restoring normality. The flight attendants told everyone not to panic, and all thought it was just turbulence. Unbeknownst to them, the cockpit was in a life-and-death race against time. The captain called the control tower for help. The tower ordered all planes to stop flying, cleared the runway, and assisted Flight 1549 in returning. But Sully knew, given their height, returning was impossible. The tower still had hope, but Sully's 42 years of flight experience told him they had to make an emergency landing on the Hudson River. After that, the tower lost their signal. The controller called Sully again and again. The nearest airport was only 11 kilometers away, but there was no response. He was distraught because the success rate of water landings was less than 1%. As the plane approached the water, Sully operated calmly. The first officer cooperated fully. This is the captain. Brace for impact. Passengers prayed and some even left farewells. Heads down, stay down. Breathe. Heads down, stay down. Sully adjusted the angle of impact and prepared for the crash. 50, 30, 20. The plane landed on the Hudson River at a perfect angle. It didn't break apart or capsize. After sliding for a distance, it came to a stop in the middle of the river, but a more dangerous test followed. Sully walked into the cabin and told all passengers to put on life jackets and evacuate in an orderly manner. Water flooded in instantly, quickly reaching the cabin windows. The plane could sink at any moment. The first officer was still shaken, and a flight attendant with a torn leg immediately joined the evacuation efforts. The front door opened, and the life raft deployed smoothly. The emergency exits on both sides were opened. Nearby passengers stood on the wings to wait for rescue. Some jumped into the river, trying to swim to the other side, but forgot it was freezing New York with temperatures below zero. Sully reminded people to wear life jackets and handed out blankets to increase their chances of survival in the cold. Fortunately, the nearby Coast Guard spotted them, and aerial rescue was on the way. All passengers were evacuated from the cabin safely. Boats rushed to the scene from all directions. The Coast Guard pulled passengers onto their boats one by one. The pilots jumped into the icy water to rescue those who had overestimated their abilities. 300 citizens also joined the rescue. Everyone worked together in an orderly fashion. Thanks to people's joint efforts, the rescue ended in just 20 minutes. The first thing Sully did after getting ashore was to call his wife to say he was safe, but he was still uneasy. The mayor and the police chief wanted to greet him, but Sully was only concerned about one number, 155. He needed to confirm that everyone on the plane was rescued, but it was impossible to count the number at the moment. At the first officer's strong suggestion, Sully was taken to the hospital for a checkup. At this moment, the union president brought some news. 155. 155. It's official. Sully felt joy, relief, and mixed emotions, which finally turned into a sigh of relief. He had created a miracle. News reports flooded in, and Sully became a hero in people's hearts. The National Transportation Safety Board invited him to a hearing, but Sully never expected it to be a trial. A joint investigation team was set up to look into the crash. Engineers from the Transportation Board calculated that under the conditions at the time, the plane had enough time to return and there was no need to risk a water landing. Without giving Sully a chance to refute, they raised doubts about how he calculated all the parameters to conclude that the plane couldn't land. The Transportation Board scoffed at his judgment. Moreover, a double engine failure caused by a bird strike was a completely unprecedented accident. No matter how Sully explained, the Transportation Board remained aggressive and even questioned his mental state. When was your last drink, Captain Sullenberger? 9 days ago. Drugs? No. He had saved 155 lives, yet had to endure the embarrassment of being unable to defend himself. Fortunately, society was full of praise for him. Taxi drivers felt honored to have him as a passenger. Even the makeup artist before the interview couldn't resist giving him a kiss and offered to introduce him to her single mom. Tell Brenda thank you, but that girl lucky one. Sully felt somewhat comforted, but at the start of the second meeting, the Transportation Board pointed out that the plane's data showed the left engine still had thrust and was running throughout the flight. This meant Sully had misjudged the double engine failure. If you want to know what happens next, follow me. I will update the next part soon.